welcome. Today I'm going to be trying something new. I'm going to be water glassing our chicken's eggs. So water glassing is a way to preserve eggs so that they last long. Some people say up to 18 months. I don't know, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm trying it today. So water glassing is a preservation technique for eggs. Some people freeze eggs to preserve them. Some people dehydrate them. I've read of people freeze drying their eggs. So I haven't done any of that yet, but I have actually frozen them. In fact, they're still in the freezer. But anyway, I'm gonna try water glassing. So water glassing is using pickling lime, which is calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide is usually a mix of oysters, bones, I think shells are in it. They've been burned in a kiln basically and then rehydrated, and that's the hydrated lime or pickling lime. That's where that comes from. So what it does though, it creates like an alkaline, I guess, solution that prevents bacterial growth around the eggs and inside the eggs to essentially preserve them. So I have everything in front of me and I'm gonna kind of walk you through it. It's important that your eggs that you're using are not store-bought eggs. These are from our own chickens. The bloom is still intact. So little science lesson, when a chicken lays an egg, around the egg is a protective bloom. It's like an invisible layer of something around it that prevents bacteria from kind of getting in. When stores sell eggs, those eggs have the bloom washed off. The bloom is a crucial part of this process, the preservation process. So whatever eggs you do choose have to be clean, no poop, and bloom, unwashed. You don't want them to be washed of that bloom. You want to use some sort of filtered water or well water. We have well water, so we're going to be using that. If you do have only city water, you can leave the water out for a period of time, probably a good 24 hours. It'll dissipate a lot of the baddies. So that's that. So I have my water here. I have my pickling lime. I have my big jar. So this big jar is 120 ounces. So for every quart of water you have, you need 1 ounce of pickling lime, no matter how many eggs you put in. So my 120 ounce jar is like 3.75 quarts. So I'm gonna use 3 ounces of hydrated lime for this. I'm gonna see how many eggs fit. I don't know, but we're gonna figure it out. I have more if I need to add more. But anyway, I'm going to use a scale to measure out the ounces of lime, just because I want to be exact in this experiment as much as possible. And here we go. I'm gonna move you down here. So first we're gonna start by mixing the lime into the water. I have a 8 cup or 2 quart measuring cup. So I'm going to put 2 ounces of pickling lime inside of that. So I'm gonna see if I can move this out of the way. I'm gonna put my scale in ounces and put 2 ounces in. And I put it on wrong. There we go. Now I'm in ounces. .1 ounce. 1 ounce. Okay. I'm gonna pour that into my 2 quarts of water, and then I'm gonna mix it well. Some people say to wear PPE when you're doing this. As far as I'm concerned, I breathe in much worse stuff from chicken poop when I clean the coop out. So I'm gonna live life on the edge a little bit. So there's my 2 ounces, my 2 quarts. So to fill this thing up to the top, I'm gonna need to do another quart. So I'm gonna actually add this to a different container real quick, so I can do the third quart. So hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm back with the 3rd quart here, and I'm gonna measure out another ounce of pickling lime. Zero it out, and let's get to an ounce. Okay, 1 ounce. Move this out of the way. Pour it in and mix this as well. Okay, so the next part is going to be the tricky part, because the way to add the eggs to this giant jar, you have to put the eggs in pointed side down. So every egg, this is my Moss Egger's egg, beautiful color. Every egg has a pointed top and a more round bottom. Some of them are a little harder to see that, but they all have a more pointed top. So the pointed top is supposed to go down in the jar. The reason being is in the top there's an air pocket of each egg, and you want to lessen that space, I guess you could say. I don't know how to say it, but for this process, that's what I've read you have to do. So I'm gonna try to do that without cracking any eggs. There may or may not be some casualties, but I'm gonna try not to do that, because I don't want to have to clean the jar out and do it all over again. So let's try this out. I don't know how the heck we're supposed to do it, because then you're supposed to pour the solution in. So I'm gonna start with the, I'm gonna start with them kind of like this. Let me move this a little closer to me so I can do what I'm doing here. So pointed side down in the bottom. And I'm imagining here in my perfect world brain that once I get a bottom layer down of the eggs, that it'll be easier to ensure that the eggs are pointed. Yeah, in my perfect frame, that the eggs are pointed down, because then I can stack them precariously on top of each other. And I realized that this is a giant jar for the amount of eggs that I have put out here, because I'm already halfway through. Oh, see, that one's not completely pointed down. And I'm not sure of how perfect this needs to be. Oh, look, see, my perfect brain is sometimes firing on all 6 cylinders here, because it is slightly easier to, this one is not pointed down.
Hi,
Hi, honey. So, oh gosh. All right, so pointed side down. Look at the speckles. I just love that. Okay. Now, if you do crack any in this process, you do have to clean and start over, which is a problem because you can't use cleaned eggs. So if you make them like that, or break anything in the solution, it's all a wash. So that's a problem. I mean, of course you could still eat the eggs, like but they would not be good for the preservation process. See, this has a little bit of poop on it, which would not be okay for this, so I'm gonna stick that one out and keep going with what I have. And I'm gonna go to the fridge and actually get some more candidates out so that I can fill this jar up and have a good experiment. So I'm gonna pause you and come back. So I was supposed to pause you, but apparently I didn't. I just turned the video off. How fun. So I did pour the solution of pickling lime and water into the jar fully, and I did realize that I probably should have practiced, or I don't know, I probably should have maybe made sure that what they said this jar was actually accurate, because my 3.75 quarts and 120-ounce jar is accurate. However, the space that I actually have and measured out and all that stuff, it came out way up to the top, and I was not able to add all of the solution in. However, I feel like it's okay. So I'm gonna close this up completely, and this is now going to be stored in a cool, dark place. The worst thing for the preservation process of most things is air and water usually, but obviously for this is air. So you want this to stay sealed. As you can see, I do have a rubber ring gasket on my jar, making it airtight. So that is a crucial part of whatever jar you use. It has to be airtight. As you can see, the stuff has settled, and it looks like it snowed on the eggs. And some of them are not completely pointed down, it looks like, although maybe it's okay. So this is all normal, the settling, it's gonna be settled. You can, from what I've read, you can add to this jar now if you have room. You can remove eggs as needed as well. And it'll stay, some sources say up to 18 months. I'm going to check back in probably 6 months or so and do another follow-up video. I'm gonna crack an egg. I'm gonna crack a fresh egg. I'm gonna crack one of these eggs and see what the results are. I hope that they're good results, because this is a lot of eggs that I'd hate to waste. But anyway, I did my best. I know that all the solution didn't fit, but I think it's gonna be okay. I hope. If you've tried this before, I'd love to know about it. If you learned something today, I'd love to know about that too. If you have any other cool techniques you've tried to preserve eggs other than freezing and water glassing, and I would really like to know about freeze drying eggs, actually. Anyway, if you know anything about that, I'd love to know about it. I love talking about this sort of thing, so I'm glad you watched the video and learned how to water glass eggs, and I will do a follow-up soon. Thank you.